What do you think to be means? That is a difficult question, right? We usually use the verb be for those things that exist, like a wall or a painting in your living room, without realizing that when we say this, we are referring to an ontological quality, be. The be is all that one is. Here, different philosophical concepts rise. One of these is the univocal concept. It has to do with everything that is permanent and common to all. Without any distinction, once all the singular characteristics that make it unique are taken out, such as the size or color. Then there is the analogical concept. It refers to all those qualities that things have but in different ways, where everything matches but at the same time everything differs. Let's go back to the past to get some historical context. Western and Christian philosophy begins with Thales of Miletus, a philosopher of classical Greek antiquity who began to ask questions related to be. Of course, someone had to disagree with another person in the story. Who doesn't want some drama? A philosopher named Parmenides said, "It is what it is." However, Eucalipto, another philosopher, believed in the opposite of Parmenides. He contrasted to be or not to be. Years later, another philosopher called Heidegger stated in his most famous book, Being and Time, that be is time. At the same time that be is what it is, he also says that a wall can be red today, but tomorrow painted yellow. Heidegger speaks of an essence, contrasting be with essence. If we look at it with the example of the wall, painted in one color or another, the wall is still a wall. So, what does being yourself means?
In my opinion, the phrase being yourself is about expressing your likes or your own personal style without fearing what others may think.
Just like doing what you want, like have some experiences without getting guided by what other people thinks or does.
I think being yourself is like give your thoughts and have your own opinions without wondering what people would say or think about you.
Being authentic to your likes and what you actually want to do, ignoring what other people might think is best for you or what they might like you to do, and just doing what you actually want.
I think being yourself is acting the way you like, but sometimes it can change depending the people you are around.
I think that being yourself means when you show your inner self to others without altering it for them to like you.
I was once told by someone who studies psychology, we don't think it is possible to be yourself in its entirety. There are people who think in terms of identity. For example, gender identity, being on a football team, and even being rich or poor. However, philosophically, be is something impossible for the human being. Why? The concept of be arises from the essence. The essence of be as something that is identical to something. When you say, I am me, you are saying that you are that and you cannot be otherwise. Then you will have a problem the day you say, I am something else. Because by saying that, you are meaning you are purely that. A wise man once asked a zebra, "Are you black with white stripes or white with black stripes?" And the zebra replied, "And you, are you a sad person with cheerful moments or a cheerful person with sad moments?" This is kind of a philosophical reflection converted into a joke that conveys the fact that no one can say, I am something. The be as such is not a stable concept. It is always under construction and in continuous evolution. One can be in a certain way throughout life, but it's not always going to be so pure and exactly the same. For one to go being oneself, one has to think, how can I go being me and not something else? Isidore Ducas, an Uruguayan writer, said, I am others. It could be said that be contains multitudes. I am my mother's daughter, my aunt's niece, and a student at some Bruno school. I may be obsessed with something now, but I will later change it with another thing. I may be the shy girl with people I just met, and the most outgoing person with my friends. Would this contradict the definition of be, where be is the essence of something, its totality? Do you think we are ourselves or we are being ourselves?
I think that depends on whether which person we are talking to. When I'm talking to my mother, I am myself because I don't pretend. I know I can tell her my opinion, my thoughts, with my friends too. But with strange people, it is very difficult to be myself because I don't know if my opinion is gonna hurt them or they have differences on all of that. So I'm trying to be myself, like I'm being myself, but like I'm uh, I'm cautious.
I think we are being ourselves because we change through time the way we act depending on what we learned throughout time.
I think we are being ourselves since we are a culmination of what we learned and what we see.
I believe we are ourselves because we are not only what we think, but we actually do, like the actions we perform. So, like, everything we are and we do is part of ourselves and makes us who we are. So, I believe we are ourselves.
In my opinion, we are being ourselves because we will not always be the same. We may change our likings, the people we love, our hobbies, everything. So that makes us change as persons and our personal style.
Which are the ways teens can feel like themselves?
Something that makes me feel like myself is my clothes because I really like to express myself through my clothes and I'm really interested in fashion.
Doing any activity that either makes me laugh or lose track of time, because I feel like you're not logical about them. You just enjoy doing them, and it's you don't think about it. It's just having fun.
I don't know, I think maybe the music that I listen to or what I like to do in my free time.
I think it is being around people that I like and doing things that I enjoy.
There are certain activities I do, or maybe when I hang out with my friends, where I can be myself completely, and I know they won't criticize me or say anything about me because they like to be with me.
Probably doing the things that I like, doing things that I enjoy. For example, I really like painting, I really like watching movies or go out with my friends. Probably that like doing what you enjoy and just living your life.
I believe we should define what adolescence is. This is an invention of modernity. In previous time there was no such thing as a teenager. This invention is based on the discovery that there is a time when one is a child and at a certain time there is kind of a passage to adulthood. It's not measured in chronological time, it has to do with the border crossing of being a child and being an adult. Oneself is never oneself, but is one with regard to the other, the neighbor. The neighbor can be your mother, father, neighbor, and best friend. It depends on the person. To know oneself is to know that you may be telling jokes and nonsense now, but then talking about serious things. Everyone is building and defining those things that make one be, or in a more correct term, being. In this process of being, wondering how things can go being like themselves can lead to different things. Many times you are what people expect you to be. For example, teens are not expected to be as their parents want them to be, and that is why it's very common the fact that in this stage of life, teens argue and have differences with their parents. However, they are like their friends expect and do what their friends want them to do. I believe it's globally known that teens most of the time do things they don't really want to, just to take the against, or go with the flow, or because they want to fit into a determined group, be accepted by a specific person. This is normal, and all of you should know that everyone goes through these moments. For you to go being, you should think about yourself and ask yourself things like, do I really want to do this? Why am I doing this? I am achieving something. If so, what I am achieving? Of course, there are some things that are obvious, and because you are questioning things does not mean you are going to start going out naked. Some things teens can start to think about and question could be what they want for their life, starting to realize what they like, and even make some decisions by themselves, or deciding whether to do or not certain things. In this go-being, one should not always go with the flow. However, taking in consideration what others might suggest, it's okay if you thought about it and believe they were right. Do you think teens have difficulties being themselves?
Well, yeah, definitely. Especially being a period of time when people are like very social and have a lot of contact with their peers and teachers and parents who all think different things about what might do you best. So it's really difficult to ignore what people you like tell you and do what you actually want to do. But I think eventually you'll overcome this because teenage years are the period of life in which you find yourself and like build your personality. So I mean, eventually you get it out of those problems. Yes, definitely. I think everybody has at some point in their life. I mean, my personal like worst experience with this was a few years ago, but I still have like difficulties sometimes like doing what I actually want and desire because I don't want to like let people down who I like. So yeah.
Yes, a lot. I think that mostly nowadays with social media, there are like always new trends and stereotypes that you have to keep up with, and it's like very overwhelming. Yes, I think that in the last year I have changed a lot as to my personal style. What's most difficult about it is that we are always trying to like classify people into certain categories, and we should just like all be ourselves and it would be much easier.
Yes, absolutely, because many teens don't act like themselves because of approval and having more friends. I had when I was younger because I wanted to fit in certain groups that I finally didn't.
Yes, of course, since there are lots of factors that are out of people control. For example, what would happen if you do something, all the judgments that you have over yourself, that your family have over you, or even the society. So that affects a lot when you want to be or do something.
Well, yes, because sometimes teens feel like they need to belong to somewhere. So lots of the time they fake their personalities just to fit in. I don't think so. I've been taught to show myself as raw as possible to other people and that I don't need to change who I am to like others.
The human being is a social being. Something that can affect how one is oneself or what one does is fear. Concern for what others say or think, which in fact is very common for teenagers. After asking teenagers why they have difficulties being themselves, I was given multiple answers, such as others not liking their personality, acting differently to fit in a specific group, being afraid of others' opinions. Forget about the fact that we are a social being and ask yourself, why do I care so much about what others think? Maybe your answer will be something like because they may reject you or because we don't live in this world alone. We care about what others think since those are the people we are around. These are not the only two answers for the question, of course. Does it depend on the life that each of us has had to live? What made us be able or not to ask ourselves questions like who I am or what does it mean to be me?
I think that in some point of our lives, everyone asks themselves like, who am I or what am I doing, what do I like? But I think that it depends on like your experiences, whether you struggle more or less to find out who you are.
Yes, I do think so. I believe that our experiences are the ones that make us ask questions.
do because you ask questions about like who you are, or life itself when confronted to situations. But I don't think it's the only thing that makes us ask questions. Like for instance, you might somebody else might make you like ask yourself that question. So it's not only the situations but also the people.
Yes, I think so, because sometimes people have higher expectations put on them, and that affects the way they act around other people.
Yes, of course. Because everyone has different stories, have different experiences that led them to be someone in this point. So everyone's gonna ask different questions.
It depends on that life story that frame each one with things that one choose for them but also did not choose. My name is Florencia, but it wasn't my decision. What one has had to live, whether it is where they were born, the context, the education, it affects how one can think about themselves and think about how they can go being. One could have been called different, go to another school, have more brothers or less sisters. All of these things affect your story in the smallest way. Being a teenager implies being in construction. Your group of friends from high school or elsewhere is shaping your being. So if they wouldn't have been your friends, you wouldn't be the way you are. Different experiences such as a fight, trip, etc. will determine you and leave a mark. The important thing will be what you do with the marks left from the experience. There are situations where teenagers do not ask who I am. Most do, but the issue is how much of that is conscious and how much is unconscious. One may wonder who I am and answer something that is a lie but still believe it. This will be a conscious response to something unconscious that we do not know. I want you all to ask yourselves, can we ask ourselves in our family who we are? Can we think of ourselves, or are we as others says? Since in which family you were born has an enormous impact on you questioning things. We all have been told different things during our childhood. You are brilliant, you are beautiful, you suck at sports, you behave so badly. I could be giving examples for hours. These are experiences we all live and seem meaningless, but these may have actually had an impact on us, now affecting our decision and even knowing ourselves. Your attitude also has a huge role here. You asking yourself, who am I? How can I go being myself? What is going on in my life? Are my actions good or bad? And other things like, what do I like? Who do I want to be? Which subject of school I enjoy the most? What I am going to study in the future? To go being who you are, you have to question and analyze these things.